Hi, everybody. You're tuned in to Where Waters Meet, a podcast featuring discussions on fly fishing, art, all things outdoors with a conservation focus. All right, guys, it's Alex and Johnny.
Oh, hey, man.
And here you are. You are at Where Waters Meet podcast, and we're coming to you again from Western Maine Yurts in the gallery. And we've done a couple of these today, and we decided that for our last recording of the day, we are going to do the outlier tangent, coined by the great Johnny. Tried to come up with a name of what we were going to try to accomplish with this show, and that was the best we could do.
Yeah, this one's totally off the cuff.
Yeah, the outlier tangent.
Yep. It's either that or, what was it, like on the fly?
The BS.
Yeah, BS.
You just said BS.
Yeah.
BS, yeah. And but we figured we've done a lot of like how-tos. We've done the On the Vice section that we do, and we've shared a lot of newbie information and different stuff that you could do. And we're like, why don't we just like kind of tell a tale, mostly true,
of a 4-hour trip.
Of a 4-hour trip, and the journey that we got to where we were. And so essentially we're just going to talk about what we're going to call the Skiff. And John and I, trying to think of the time frame of this. We went last spring down, and we spent the year before that kind of working on it in our spare time.
Yeah, it was about a year.
Yeah, but we essentially started out with a bare hull that we acquired from some boys that
Alex acquired it.
I
was a helper.
You were there. You were there at the acquisition phase. Too.
Yeah, I was.
Yeah, we rolled it out on dowels and got it on the trailer. But we went down, and there was this hull that I thought had potential for what we were trying to accomplish, and there were some boys that had lobstered out of it.
Yep.
And recreationally off the coast, and it was a interesting hull. It's made by Sundance. It essentially was kind of a Carolina skiff, except it still had a keel line in the middle, complete with 3 strakes that go down the back section of the hull. But it's mostly flat, but it doesn't skate like a Carolina, and it drafts in really, really shallow water, which was the most important thing we were looking for. And it was 16 feet long, and the price was right, and it was only 3 years old. So we ended up with it.
Yep.
And I gotta put a picture up when we edit this. It was it had decals down the side that these boys had made up.
Oh, what was the name of it?
It was the Water Whiz.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
And we joked around and said we needed to put a WW somewhere on it just to gotta pay homage to that. But anyways. Yeah, so it had non-ablative paint on the bottom painted on it, which was all thick and crusty, and so we mounted an eye bolt to the rafters there in the shop and got this boat flipped over, and I refinished the bottom and wet sanded and buffed it out so it looked new.
Oh, it came out beautiful. It looked brand new.
Yeah, and then
probably looked better than it did when it was new.
It probably did. It probably had less imperfections. Yeah. And then I got it flipped over, and then John came over, and that's where we started the whole build-out process of trying to create this minimalistic, lightweight saltwater skiff with a poling platform so that we could fish in the saltwater. And we've fished in it for stripers, and we've fished in it in Florida, and we didn't land anything, but we saw some reds and tarpon, and
Yeah, man. It was a blast. What a journey it was.
It was.
It was so fun building that. And it just came out of your just obsessive compulsive like you and I are both like this. We get fixated on an idea.
Yeah.
And it kind of eats up, I'd say, most of our downtime at night, and we just get fixated on a thing.
100%.
And next thing you know is like, I guess we're going to build a skiff.
It gets bad in that I'm able to convince myself that it has to happen. Yeah. And luckily for me, I think Gretchen, for some reason, is just like, Alex is probably just not. This would be way easier if Alex just does this.
Yeah.
He should just do this.
Yeah. And I'm good too, because you're like, what do you think about this? And I'm like, sounds good to me. Let's do it. How much experience do you have? None. Me too. It's going to be great.
It's true. But, well, I mean, we have carpentry experience, but yes, we
have experience
working with epoxy.
We have experience of getting things done.
We do, and we're good at working with our hands. That's kind of what we've always done our whole life. But we've never built, bulkheads and a top deck on a skiff and blended it in and tried to make it look good. But yeah, so the journey started out with, we tented off a place in the shops that we could sand and, do all this fiberglass work. And I've done light fiberglass work where I've glassed in like some sub boxes and cars, when I was younger, and take the spare tire out and build what I wanted and do that. But I mean, that was pretty crude. And I never really worked with epoxy. And I had mildly with just like, the handle on this broke off. I'm going to epoxy this on. But we learned a lot with that. That was fun. I remember when we had that cooking and John just like, I think she's done.
I think I was in charge of mixing, and we were like, okay, we're going to mix up this amount. And we mixed it up, and I'm sitting there ready to lay something out. And I'm like, fellas, she's smoking.
It kicks.
So we had to adjust our ratios and how much we actually made it.
I'll tell you where I went wrong with that was, so I knew I didn't want to keep the shop heated like 70, 80 degrees because we were doing it in the winter here. So, my second part, I got like the stuff that wasn't the slow cure. Yeah. And it was, it wasn't like really fast cure, but it was faster.
Oh, it was fast.
And we learned so if I use that total boat stuff again, I'd get the slowest that you could possibly ever get. Cause even when we were working in the shop and it was, 55, 60 degrees, she was,
tack up.
She would tack up really, really fast. So essentially what we did with this boat, and like I said, you guys will see the picture of the water whiz and everything like that. And I might attach some other photos, but essentially what we did was we got a bunch of Coosa board, which we got 1/2-inch Coosa, and there's different ratings of that. I can't remember. I didn't get the strongest one. It might have been the blue 65 or something like that, but it's a fiberglass reinforced foam board it's like 65% lighter than a 1/2-inch sheet of plywood. So you pick it up and it's unbelievably light, but if you were to jump on it, it would break. Yeah. But it does have some level of rigidity to it. So it gives you a good base where you can build out the things that you need, and then you reinforce those with fiberglass mat on top of that. And you can adhere the mat to the Coosa using vinyl ester resin or polyester resin. And those are how they were traditionally all done. We ended up going with epoxy, and it has about twice the shear strength of it's about twice as strong. So we're like, this would be a great idea. Let's use epoxy. And I will say it is very strong, but it had its challenges for us. And one of them was it was kicking and setting up really hard, quick. And, and if you don't put enough of your accelerant in it, it just would never set up at all. And then it just remains tacky. So we had that, and then it was also thick, much thicker, and so then we got a crock pot with water, so we were able to put our jugs in the crock pot to heat that up, and
to get it to correct viscosity.
Yeah, and John was pro mixer for sure, and we had Derek helping us too.
Yep,
because it was quite a process. When we got ready to lay a section of mat, we would cut the mat out, and we ended up going with 1708 biaxial. mat, which is neat in that it has a layer of chopped mat, which is like the fiberglass mat that you see that just it's chopped pieces of fiberglass that's just all randomly. Yeah, you can pull apart. And that was on the bottom, and then the top is a layer of woven fiberglass. And then what they do is they sew those two mats together, so you're able to lay down the two layers in one shot. And we were able to get the strength that we wanted by doing one layer of 1708 top and bottom. Yep. And but the problem was, go ahead.
We needed the 3 guys to wet it out.
We did, and that was like you could have probably had 4.
Yeah,
I mean it was because we'd flip it over, we'd pour epoxy that John had mixed onto it, then we'd take a body putty squeegee and just go all over it and work it all over. Then we would roll it out and do the same thing on the Kusa board. Then we would lay that down. Then we'd have to pour more epoxy on top. And then at that point, you have these little fin rollers, and you're trying to work all the air bubbles out of it and get everything to be wet. And it was challenging.
Yeah, especially like we weren't very accustomed with that. We were probably just better off with regular old resin rather than the
because that's like stuff. That stuff's like wetting a napkin with water.
Yeah,
I think that we would have had we would have enjoyed the process more for sure.
Yeah.
And it's possible that the boat might have been slightly lighter because we also probably had a little bit more resin in it
than we needed to.
Yeah. But there's a reason why they have those vacuum bag infusion hulls where, they put it in a vacuum bag. They have all of their mat laid down, and then they basically vacuum.
They suck the resin through.
Yeah, they suck it right through. And then you have the least amount of resin needed.
Yep.
And you have really good adhesion, and there's no air bubbles. But that's
we did pretty good.
We did pretty good. We did.
Yep.
And it's definitely strong. And so anyways, we built a top deck, and we blended that right into the rolled rails of it. And we made open front and rear bulkheads and rod holders that are underneath the gunnels. And we got, tubes for the tips, and it looks very much like a traditional poling skiff that you see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It looks like something you'd buy.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, and it came out good. And then we had, we had a friend of mine who fabricates. He
did a wicked good job.
They came out great. I drew up kind of some rough plans of what I wanted for I knew I wanted a side grab rail that I could have like my electronics on. And then I knew that I needed a poling platform in the back, and he made those out of aluminum. And then we finished them with Raptor, U-Paul Raptor bed liner, and then built out what we wanted for an electronics package, which we kept pretty simple.
I forgot about chasing all those wires through the conduits.
Oh,
that was probably the least fun out of the whole thing.
It definitely was the least fun. And I had just busted my knee up too. You remember that? So it was like I had this knee that was swollen up, and I'm laying around dragging myself in there. And I didn't realize that, where did Mojave
He's
go?
under the table.
Oh, I heard him give out a huge sigh.
Yeah, he gave up.
John's doggy, Mojave, he's our mascot today. He's under the table. But yeah, the Simrad there, your main cable that you got to snake through. I didn't realize, I'm like, oh, that's no problem. They must make that so it's easy to do. And like the plug that you use, you can't get through anything. So I looked it up, and they're like, nope, you just got to cut the wire, and then you got to splice it. And it was like, they make a unit that you can use where you're like, you allegedly cut the wire.
Yeah.
And then you just end up stuffing all these wires into respective places and tightening up all these screws. But the problem is there's 20 wires.
Yeah, there's a lot.
And they're 22 gauge. They're microscopic. And so I ended up getting those little waterproof low heat solder connectors, you know what I mean? And I did it all by hand, and I perfectly cut the shielding, and I would peel the shielding back and then rewrap the shielding over, and oh my word, it was murder.
What was amazing is we got everything right the first time.
We did, we did on the wiring. It's true.
Everything worked.
It did, and
it was amazing.
And so far,
it's held up.
Knock on wood, it's not like one of those things where like then something suddenly didn't work.
Yeah.
And I mean, we ended up, just to go over the electronics that we have on it, I got a Simrad Go 9, which is worked phenomenally. And we went to Florida and we had the Florida Marine tracks in there. And that was
handy.
That was handy and it was great. And then there's interior lights in it that are green. We got our nav lights and, the snake, went with snake eyes up in the front. What else do I have for electric? Oh, we got a bilge.
That high velocity bilge pump.
Yeah, it shoots water.
That thing is amazing.
8 feet out the side. Oh my word. Yeah. Yeah. That's, but yeah, we kept it simple though.
Yeah. No,
we totally kept it simple. We and one thing that we did.
Tiller.
It's tiller. Yeah. We kept it simple as far as that. It's just got a Suzuki, and 30 horsepower and it's, which has worked good. And we got a carbon marine, tiller extension on it and it goes pretty good with 2 guys. You can, depending on how much weight you got in there, you're 21 to 25 miles per hour, depending on the conditions with 2 guys. And, and we weight dispersal, it was more wiring for us to do through chases, but we have the battery and the fuel up in the very front in the bow of the boat to just try to keep us as level as possible. And it doesn't even have quite as much to do with like when we're running as it does when we're poling. Cause like the way that it's set up, if John is poling or on the bow casting or vice versa, we sit pretty flat and we can get in some pretty shallow water. I would say it probably drafts in around, the specs on the hull say 5 inches, but I would say the way we have it equipped and everything, we're probably somewhere between 6 and 8.
Yeah.
We can get pretty skinny, but we've run it aground.
You did. We had to wait a little bit for the tide to come in.
Yeah. Yeah.
Trim tabs is another electronic thing.
That's true. We did. And that was an afterthought.
That was an afterthought. We took it out for a run
on Norway Lake. Yeah.
Lake. And she wasn't planing out.
No.
As expected.
And I think, and so we put trim tabs on to see if that would happen. And this was all new. We aren't pro boat people at all. So we're like, well, let's put some, I'm going to put some trim tabs on it. So I got some trim tabs. They had some down to Hamilton Marine. We put those on. She still was having a hard time planing.
Yep.
And then John's the one, he's like, you need to just get another propeller.
Yeah. Change them.
I'm like, why?
Change their pitch. Yeah.
And what was funny was we had done our trip out on Norway Lake doing a test run with it. And then we said, we need some trim tabs. So we put trim tabs on it. And then literally like the next day, we just headed to Florida, just John and I. We didn't even get a room. We slept in the boat in the car because we didn't want anything getting stolen.
Yeah.
And then we got down there. We're having planing issues. And John's like, you should go talk to the marina.
Yeah.
And so we were down there. And remember when we went to the marina, what we saw?
The snake? I forget what kind. It was poisonous. What was it?
It was in a pontoon boat. It was funny, and they had just they had that storm, right?
Oh,
so
yeah.
there was like
they
the
were
water
squeeging water out of the showroom.
Yeah, the tide and the pushback. It came up into the marina, and so we go in, and they're like, oh, like, hey, you guys are from Maine. Look at this. This is what we get to deal with down here. And there's this snake, like in the pontoon boat, and they had to try to get that thing out. But anyways, they were awesome. They got a prop for us overnight, and we put a different prop on. And
the next day,
and then we put the prop on, and then we were out ripping.
It was awesome. What a difference! Just that slight pitch change.
Yeah.
She planed right out.
Oh, and we did crack out a section of the boat though.
Oh yeah, driving down.
Yeah. I had the another electronic. We keep adding to the electronics. I actually have an electric jack plate on it. So so for those that don't know, the jack plate is a whole separate unit that the motor bolts onto, and I can electronically raise my motor up and down. So it's different than trimming the motor up. Like I can actually have the motor trimmed down, and I can adjust the height. So I can go in some pretty shallow water, and more than anything, like I haven't like run in super shallow water, but it's just nice if you get in shallow water and you want to idle out, you can idle in like almost no water and kind of get yourself out of a sticky situation.
Oh, that's pretty shallow water we buzzed through down there.
Yeah.
Over those oyster beds.
Yeah. We were probably going in, less than 2 feet of water.
Yeah.
At least.
Yeah.
Because what we ended up getting was this, there's this Florida, I can't remember, maybe it's Ilum Mapping. Anyways, they're a survey company and they just spend all this time going around and they map routes that you can go with skiffs and what have you at low tide down there. And so you can buy a chip and you stick it in your GPS and you get all these magical little...
You cross your fingers and
you
go.
do. It's called Florida Marine Tracks is what it is. FMT. And you got all these little red tracks that you can allegedly go at. I'm sure the hurricanes messed them up.
Yeah.
But it worked for us. We didn't run into any problems. So you just put your little... You run your GPS, and as long as you're on plane, you put your little teeny boat on one of those red lines, and you say a prayer, and you let it rip, and you see what happens. But we didn't take the lower unit out while we were down there, and
no, that's good.
But yeah, so we laugh because it's like we laugh because it's the memories of everything that go wrong always end up being the fun
the
laughing.
story.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, and we've reached the age where stuff just kind of, it's like whatever.
Yeah,
it's fine.
Yeah, we've had bigger problems in our life. I also think though we also have the confidence too, where we're just
we can fix that.
We're like this isn't gonna ruin the trip. We'll be okay.
Yeah, it's like right as we were getting close-ish, we pulled over and we noticed a pretty good crack in the deck up near the transom.
Yeah. And it was a spot that John, with his wisdom, said, "You're gonna do it like that."
Yeah. So that's how you're gonna do it.
He was convinced that maybe we needed a little bit extra
little reinforcement.
Yeah.
And
we didn't.
And we didn't do it, but we did. We need it.
I was waiting for John when we looked at the crack to just say, "Told you so." See?
Yeah.
See?
Yeah.
But anyways, we got it fixed and we found a Walmart and got a little fiberglass mat they had in the automotive department and found some JB Weld
two-part
epoxy and we got her gooped up and she was good to go. And we kept the transom. I mean, we kept the jack plate down when we trailered. It was up and it creates just too much pressure at that point, with the weight. So we got that down so we don't have that issue. And then and then we got the prop ironed out and then oh man, we could go.
Yeah, it was. Be honest, it was a little scary in that little boat.
Well,
going that fast. I'm like, I don't want to go any faster than this. This is,
So I've yet to ride up where you ride.
Yeah.
But for me, it's not scary at all because I feel like I got control of the situation. Like I got a hold of a tiller handle and I got a grab bar and I'm like hanging on. But you're like sitting on top of nothing in a Yeti chair
just
up front.
Please.
Because we don't have I don't remember how much there is, but in this boat, it has a foam infused floor that's suspended up quite a bit from the bottom of the hull, and we don't have much freeboard. I would say I don't know, what would you say, maybe 14, 15 inches. Well, there's more than that, but I'm saying what you're standing on inside.
Yeah, it's
maybe not that.
It's not actual freeboard. It's just the interior. It's not much.
It's not much, So when you're kind of like sitting in that chair, you just feel like you're on top of the water.
You feel like you're just in the ocean. Stripping out.
But it was beautiful. We had a blast down there. It's totally different than what we have up here because most everything we were in, even when we went off to like Cenote, like the key, out there that we went in. That's like, we're still only in like 3 or 4 feet of water, like going out to that key.
Yeah.
It's so shallow out there.
Yeah.
It's not like here. And there's just so much stuff, mangrove islands and everything. So you're zipping in between a lot, which I felt like you were going a lot faster when we were kind of in the tighter areas for sure. And then we had another event though. I got to tell this story. This was like, oh my word. this was funny. So we had already, John and I had already broke the back of the boat, and we managed to fix that. And then we had our prop situation, and we managed to get
fix that.
We got that fixed, and we're like, we're doing pretty good. and then to cap this off, actually, so we were beyond newbies. Like, we were as dumb as you could be dumb, in that we had never pushed a boat with a carbon fiber push pole. So we're like,
I had never even seen it done. I was like, at least you'd been out on a few trips.
Yeah. But the funny part about it is, like, when I go out with a guide, I am, how I am. I'm so laser focused.
On the
so
fishing,
like all I saw was what it was in front of me. I never looked back at what he was doing back there, but I just knew that it was the coolest way to fish saltwater that I had ever experienced in my life. And I needed to have a skiff. So, and then I started the idea of this during COVID, when skiffs, a used skiff that would typically be $15,000 was like $40,000, and nobody could get them. And I'm like, I'm going to build my own skiff. And it's like, now skiffs are back down to an affordable price. You know what I mean? So anyways, but yeah, so we get down there, we know nothing. We've had setbacks, but we're having a blast. And we endured my stomach bug of eating the sweaty Puerto Rican
barbecue.
We had a lot of setbacks. I forgot about that.
I forgot about that guy. Oh my God. It was so delicious. And I was like, Alex, don't look at him. Just sweat pouring off his
Oh my word. Yeah,
it's how you know the barbecue's good. It's that special sauce.
When we got down there was this art festival going on. I haven't even gotten to the story. I can't tell this story now, but we got down there, and there's this art festival going on, and we were starving because we had just driven like basically straight through. We stopped and grabbed and we're like in this like stupor, and we roll in, and kind of right at the beginning of town, down to Cedar Key, which is where we were. There was this super awesome dude. He was just such a nice guy.
He was a nice guy.
And he's got this Puerto Rican smoke like barbecue shack thing that he's got going on. And he's like cooking food out of like an oil barrel or something.
Yeah, like an oil drum that he made
So we're like, that sounds good. Let's do that. And he's got a little canopy set up. And so we sat down, and it was freaking hot.
It was hot.
Plus, he's got all this heat going on doing that. So he's like, yeah, you get whatever you want, and I'll do this. And he's like, and make sure to get a drink out of the cooler. And we sit down, and he starts putting together this ladies to go order. And I didn't really notice, like, I saw he was sweating pretty bad, but I thought he was doing an okay job of taking his like shoulder sleeve and like wiping the sweat out. And John's like, Alex, you don't even look.
Yeah,
don't look. He was just dripping sweat right in the food.
And it was like the styrofoam container. And I just in my mind, I just hear the sweat going plop.
And
but it was delicious.
Yeah. What did we get? Like,
I think it just got like some sort of, I don't know if I got like pulled pork or something.
Oh yeah.
Like that.
Yeah. It was like a sandwich, and it was like, but it was good. It was seasoned up.
Oh, it was delicious.
Yeah. It was authentic.
I'm like, I would just look away and just,
And then I got sick.
You got really sick.
I got sick, and it didn't settle well with me. And John's like, well, I know it was from that guy just sweating his ass off in your sandwich there. But oh my word, yeah, I forgot about that. But the good thing is I'll say, you know what? I think back to it right now, and actually, I don't really remember getting sick. What I remember, and maybe I guess I'm an optimist. I remember how good that sandwich is.
It was delicious.
It was so good.
I would have gone back.
Yeah.
Except he was done. That was his last day.
That was his last day, yeah. Oh my word. Yeah, so anyways.
But what were we talking about?
We were talking about what we overcame. So we overcame the crack in the top deck by the transom, and we got that epoxied. We overcame me getting sick from the Puerto Rican barbecue. And then we overcame the prop. So we got the boat going. And so at this point, we thought we were going good. We're like, we got this ironed out. We're going good. So then we get out in this back lagoon out by the number 4 bridge back there. And we get kind of tucked up into this little teeny, like saltwater kind of pond up in the Spartina. And it's looking good. And little known to us, like we start seeing fish and stuff moving around, and we're dialed in. Like we're gonna catch these. And due to our newbie beginnerness, I'm pretty sure now with what we both know that we were fishing over mullet in the grass, and we were extremely excited about them.
Yeah, just to see something.
Yeah,
water clarity was like really bad. Like
it was
like,
particularly bad. Yeah,
really bad.
Yeah. And it, like when we met that guide, that was kind of our next door neighbor there, that he was so pumped that we were down there from the state of Maine with a skiff.
Yeah.
He was like, what the hell are you guys doing down here? And he said that it was particularly bad, and it was really hard to sight fish. But yeah, so we were tucked up in this little pond, this little back lagoon pond in the Spartina, and I'm dialed in on these mullet. Like I'm just laser focused, standing on the cooler up in the bow, and I'm casting to him. And John's learning to pole. Like, like we said, we were as dumb as you could be dumb when it comes to this kind of stuff. So he's back there. I'm not paying attention to him. Well, apparently he's using this 21-foot carbon fiber push pole as a pry bar.
Yeah. I'm a carpenter by trade. Like everything's a hammer.
Yeah, you're like, I think the way to get the maximum amount of leverage in this situation is to drive this pole 2 feet in the mud.
Yeah,
and just pry it. And so I'm up there and I just hear snap, or pow or whatever, and I just hear John, and he's like, I broke the pole, with some other words I won't repeat. But and I'm like, no, you didn't break the pole. He's like, no, I broke it. I'm like, no, it must have just like popped out of the ferrule, because it was like we had a traveler section where you could unscrew the middle of this pole so we could pack it up. And he's like, no, it's cracked and it's like broken in half. And I look back and he's got 2 sections of this stinking push pole. And so that was another setback that we had to overcome on our trip to Florida. And what was funny though is I was like, well, there's the Cedar Key Marina.
Yep. Got on the old phone real quick.
Yeah, and they're like, yeah, but it was like what, 15 minutes, 20, it wasn't very long they were open.
No, it wasn't.
And so we were pretty close to the launch, but we just hammered on it and got that boat loaded up, and we went and got a hacksaw, because we didn't have anything to cut that with. And
hacksaw, some blue tape, and some more epoxy.
And we eyeball cut it. We didn't really have anything to square it up with, so we just hacksaw it down through. And
it actually came out just as straight as the ones that we laser focused beforehand.
we jimmied it.
Yeah.
And so we glued her back together with the epoxy, taped it, and we said, that ought to be good by morning. And then we went out and we did it again, and then we ended up getting water in the push pole.
Yeah, you could hear water inside the boat.
So then we cut it again.
Yeah.
And we cut the wrong section.
I can't remember if we cut it and re-glued it and then realized we cut the wrong section, or if we caught it. I can't remember.
I can't remember.
But I remember there was a third cut and a third fixing.
Well, and what happens, it was a carbon marine push pole, and you have these insert ferrules, and then you have sections, and because it's so expensive, I mean, you can't ship a 21-foot long item. Well, you could, but be megabucks. So you get all these sections, you got to glue them together with these ferrules, and they give you this little foam piece that you push in with the epoxy, and it kind of seals off like your units, so the whole thing can't fill with water. And the problem with the carbon fiber is it resonates though. So I think we thought it was at the end where the point tip was, or maybe it was the fork tip. I don't know. But anyways, we cut that off and we're like, this is dry.
We're expecting the water to pull.
Yeah.
nothing happened.
Nothing happened, and then we had to cut another piece. So anyways, long story short, I bought another one where I'm at like 23 and a half feet with that push pole now, which is good for the state of Maine. 21 feet was actually good down there because the water's typically a bit shallower down there. But anyways, yeah, those were our setbacks.
Yeah.
And then we had our golf cart with no brakes. that we stole a brick from somewhere that we used.
On Main Street. That was our parking brake, so it wouldn't roll into the street.
And that's when John was like, "This is kind of my style down here. I like this.
I really like the town."
Yeah, you're like, I bet the owner's we got to show him this. He's gonna be so proud of us with our brick. We don't even bring it back. We're like, we're fine. We got a parking brake brick. No problem. But yeah, so that was that. But we did get the polling figured out a little bit better towards the end of it. Not that we're, pro push pollers by any means, but we could, get around.
You get you around.
Yeah.
Unless the wind really came up.
Yeah. 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 And and that's kind of the shortfall of probably that boat compared to, other skiffs that aren't as flat, they're made to pull a little bit better in the wind, but we got it figured out. Like, a lot of people like to pull with their motor all the way up because the boat just naturally tracks really well. But like with that being flat, even if you just have a teeny bit of the skeg on that bottom of that motor down in the water, like we could track pretty
Better,
good.
yeah.
But at first I had it right up and it was like, I felt like I was trying to pull
pretty difficult.
Yeah. Felt like I was on a kid's saucer sled trying to like pull it straight.
Yeah.
You just go in circles, but that was that was an experience.
It was fun.
Yeah.
Start to finish that. Forgot we painted the whole thing.
Yeah.
With the epoxy paint.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then we did you bought the sea deck stuff that we put down, and so the deck is nice and padded.
Yeah. Yeah, and we got that back cushion made for the seat, which is really nice when you're hanging out. And we didn't use it while we were there, but we did bring down the
canopy.
The canopy, and that was it obviously catches a lot of wind, but I got a bimini top for it. And what was really cool was, like when we went down, John and I think we were down there for maybe 5 days or so before Gretchen and Ange came down and the kids. And but what was really cool is when the kids came down, we went beach hopping in it, and we did a lot of that. And Gracie, she loved the dolphins down there.
That was neat.
Yeah, it was,
and cool.
And so we were able to kind of hang out and find them quite a bit. They were like playing off one end quite a bit, and so you got to see all their babies. And they there's a large pod down there around Cedar Key up through Horseshoe Beach that I can't remember the name of the hunting tactics that they have, but it's only been observed there in that they hunt in a particularly large pod for a dolphin group than what's typical, and they ball the mullet up by having a big group surround, and then what they do is they have I can't remember what they call them, but they're essentially like chaser dolphins that go through the middle, and they you'll see the mullet come out and they're jumping out after them and they stun them with their tail. It's kind of cool. So you get to see more dolphins, I guess is what I'm getting at. Instead of like over in the Mosquito Lagoon area, I've been over there and you'll see a dolphin or a couple dolphins and they're more like sole kind of, but out there it's neat because we were
saw
out
a lot of them.
Yeah. 10, 12, 14 dolphins is like no small feat.
Yeah, I really love the vibe of the town.
Yeah.
It was like, I don't know, it was kind of reminds me of Island. Like I like to go to St. John and stuff like that. Kind of reminded me of that. Everybody's laid back.
Yeah.
Everything kind of ran on its own time.
It did. Yeah, it's
nice.
like you go to the coffee shop and talk to Ben in there, and I like Ben, and it's funny though because being a uptight New Englander, where
it doesn't get
things need to happen. It needs to happen now. The time, you go down there and it's like you might be the only person in the coffee shop, and your latte or cappuccino might come out in 10 minutes.
Yeah, it'll happen.
Yeah, it'll happen at some time, but it's good. I settle in pretty quick. The pace though down there would definitely not have been my
suited for younger days.
No.
Yeah.
Like when I was 20, we would go down to Florida and fish. I would fish some, with my cousin and what have you, but I like the fast paced part. Like they live in Orlando and I really loved all that. And now I go down and I'm like, ugh.
Yeah.
I just want to do nothing. Just some fishing, enjoy some sunshine. But the people are so hospitable down there. They're really awesome. And it's really kind of devastating what the hurricane did. And they're, in quite well, actually, there was a whole hurricane right before we went down.
Yep.
And then which was a very devastating hurricane for them at that time. And then they had this last one that was like unprecedented, the storm surge that they had. And I mean, it cleared out, historical homes that were on First Street, which is one set of homes back from the coastline. And some of them were like 120 years old, 130-year-old homes, and they're just gone.
Yeah. You haven't been back since, have you?
I haven't. Oh. And I don't know if we're going to go down this April yet. We're kind of talking about seeing if we can kind of like finagle a trip, but I would just like to, because you do get like people that own the businesses down there, and they need help.
Some money.
Yeah. I feel terrible for them.
Yeah. It's a tough spot where they are.
It is. Yeah. It's old Florida, I mean, that's the way that it's described, and that is the way it is. It's everything's been replaced by high rises, and anything that's been built new in a location like that is, the first floor is 14 feet above the ground.
Yeah. These people aren't getting storm insurance, flood insurance down there. They're paying cash for whatever.
Exactly.
All their rebuilds and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really sad. And actually right before this last hurricane, they actually had, out on Dock Street, which is just such a unique, cool place. They had the hurricane that was before we went last April. So it would have been in 2023. It did storm damage to Duncan's, which was this really cool kind of restaurant that was well known off on the end. And probably in relation to that storm damage, there was a fire. Yep. And that fire was 2 months before the hurricane in 2024, and it burnt Duncan's, it burnt Steamers, it burnt
so that
half of Dock Street
is
about half of it. Oof. Yeah. You remember Steamers? You got your pot of
my seafood pot.
Yeah, crustacean pot.
Yeah, it's good.
You get alligator bites there too, or
yeah,
what?
I think we got alligator bites there.
Tastes like chicken.
Yep. Where did you get your weird ice cream salad? You got to put an insert picture here.
Yeah. That was at 29 North, which is still in existence out on Dock Street. And apparently that is, it's called the palm salad, and it had heart of palm in it. And it has the dressing. It's like heart. So you got greens, you got heart of palm, and then you have dates and some other different things. And then the dressing is literally a scoop of ice cream. Pistachio ice cream, and a nice green scoop of pistachio ice cream. And it was.
I'm watching Roy White, so I think of the ice cream salad.
Yeah, like I said to you, it doesn't count because it's a
salad.
It's a salad. The greens offset the ice cream, but it's I guess apparently the Cedar Key Hotel, which we didn't eat at, which is that's on I think 3rd Street, and the original owner of that, I think back in the early 1900s, maybe 19 teens or 20s or something, developed that salad. So I guess it's been stolen, or it's a knockoff or something, but they do accredit them with it. So yeah, pistachio. I never have seen, I saw it and I'm like,
yeah, I'm gonna give me that.
Gonna get that. Alligator bites and pistachio ice cream salad.
This has been an interesting one.
It has been an interesting one. Makes me kind of want to go back. We need to go back and redeem ourselves and catch some fish.
Yeah.
But
it was fun.
It was fun. But then that same boat, we came up, and I think we had high hopes to maybe do more striper fishing than we did this this summer out of it, but we did get out. And we, but like we've said before, and we've touched on with like warm water and like how we change up our fishing tactics and we take that time to hone our skills doing different forms of fishing when the water's too warm for trout fishing up here.
Yeah.
Like we really committed ourselves to trout fishing and collecting the data that we've been working on the Andro. And I looked the other day, I think it was like the first week of July that we got out for the first time with the skiff.
Yep. And that was nice. We'll change up.
Yeah.
Finally got a fish.
Yeah, we got a fish and we didn't have any problem finding stripers or getting chasers this summer, but it was challenging to get takers. But, from everybody I talked to, July and August it's always typically pretty tough, but a lot of people said it was particularly tough this summer. But
it was interesting, a new way to fish for me.
Yeah, especially like, because you've striper fished from the shore.
And this is more hunting and stalking than blind casting off a rock face or marsh or something.
Yeah, it's different than a drift boat in that you're poling and it's different how you see it. But what I like about it is I like the visual aspect of it. Just kind of like
it was really neat. Like we kind of, well, at least I did, like learned like some specific habits of some specific fish.
Yeah,
it was neat. It was like, this is where these guys hang out. It's always good learning something.
Yeah, I agree. And it was funny too, because there was like, I went out with Aaron and Bentley and you and Chris, and there was this one spot where we're fishing, which I won't mention where it was, but one very specific location that always, I mean, they weren't big, but it always had some schoolies that would tuck up at a certain tide in this one spot, and it was like, it's not like trout fishing at all, but like it was neat going to the same area enough that I was able to be like, oh, I probably am going to see some fish here. This is a good spot where they hold and they kind of wait and at this tide and flow, see what kind of comes through. And it was definitely different. I like the thing that's funny about it though, and I don't think some people think this way, and I think that we do, or at least I do, is I like being bad at it though.
I excelled at being bad.
Well, what I mean by that is
I take pleasure in figuring it out.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I mean. Is it's like I like that. There's a lot to learn. It's kind of fun because every time I go out, like that's the fun part for me with fly fishing, I think in general. And I think the thing that was so addicting when I first started out was like the discovery of it is so much fun.
Yeah.
And then like once you stop discovering, it's like, I think that's when it doesn't kind of become quite as fun, but I think that's why guiding is fun. And that's why I think like teaching people to fly fish is fun as it kind of all gets redefined. And so I like being bad at polling for stripers.
What was neat with that is it's like, so I tended to use visual landmarks a lot more.
Yep.
Doing that to find an area.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, this is where it was. And like in the ocean, I can't really look at the ocean and like, there are certain channels you can see, but I was using stuff on the land a lot more out there, which was new to me.
Yeah, and I probably need to get better with the, Simrad because, I can drop spots on that, and you can actually see it the way that I have it positioned from the polling platform. So we could actually get that so that we could kind of do it. But I know what you mean because we were having, some of the flats that we were on, there was very, very specific spots that were productive where fish were like hanging.
Yeah.
And, I don't know. It was cool. It's just even like the tide thing. I mean, it's like if you think finding trout in a river is tough, it's like you got to flow in that. I mean, flow goes up and down, but it's like, we aren't going to go out and, have it rise and drop 8 feet today. It's like, getting into an area. When do the fish get into that area? What is there for forage? When are they feeding? It's a lot to figure out, but it was just fun learning to pole. I definitely learned more this summer, here because I spent more time in Maine, but I just had fun getting the interaction with the fish was fun, even when they weren't taken. We had a lot of fish that would chase to the boat, and that was a blast.
It amazed me how close we got to a lot of fish and not even no idea that they're there.
Yeah.
How camouflaged these things are.
Yeah, we had a lot of kind of challenging circumstances too. It wasn't dead calm, but I also was surprised. Once I kind of got dialed in, I was actually surprised how you could actually spot fish even when it was a little bit windy if you had sun.
Yeah.
And they were able to cast a shadow, but it's tough too because we were fishing over a lot of fish this summer that had been up on the sand for a long time, so they were sand colored.
Yeah, a little darker. Yeah.
Yeah.
They weren't that.
They just blended.
They weren't as bright as that guy.
No, that would be nice. That one would stand out. That one would stand out pretty quick, but it was fun, and I don't know what we're gonna do next. I'd love to take it down to Outer Banks or somewhere around Pamlico Sound or something. Or
I mean, there's still a bunch of places around here that wouldn't mind checking out.
Yeah, I mean,
because we kind of pigeonholed ourselves into one area that we kind of knew.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and we aren't stepping on any of
that's a big thing.
We aren't stepping on any of our
toes.
guide friends' toes, and I don't want to impact anybody that's their living, so.
Yeah.
But we're just figuring out too. And the nice thing is where we were, it was mostly sandy. We aren't dealing with a dark mud bottom. We don't have as much rock. There wasn't as much to worry about. We had a lot of room for error where we played around this summer. And
it's pretty safe.
Yeah, I'd like to go there a little earlier though. And
it was cool seeing the sturgeon and stuff launching out.
Yeah, I know. I keep saying I can't believe it hasn't happened. But you see all of the guys zipping around in their
kayaks or something.
No, they're jet skis.
Oh, jet skis.
And I'm like, and the jet
for a sturgeon to
yeah. Well, it's these jet skis keep going faster and faster. I don't know. I see them going, and some of them go by, and I'm like, they got to be going 60. And I'm like, I'm just waiting for it to be on the news where man dies from
sturgeon impact.
Yeah, 6 foot sturgeon to the
dome.
Yeah, can you imagine what that'd feel like?
No. Knock you out.
Yeah, good. And they're a solid fish too.
Yeah, they are.
They aren't soft. It's gonna hurt.
They're armored.
They are, yeah. Yeah. Sturgeon death. Maine sturgeon death. I don't know. I'd like to take it though to some other places, the Skiff for sure. I think Carolinas would be nice. It'd be cool to get down there on some flood tides and maybe find some of those reds up in the Spartina grass. I watched some of the videos of guys doing that. That looks awesome.
Yeah.
Looks like something that we could really mess up really good.
Go down to Louisiana.
Yeah. Well, I just was talking to Rick about that, and he went down, and he said it was pretty nice. Caught some nice ones. Caught a big sheep's head too.
Those are funky looking.
Yeah, they're like poor man's bonefish, I guess they say.
Yeah.
I've tried to catch them in the Mosquito Lagoon, and they're wicked finicky. They like small presentations and spooky as hell. So, and they got then the thing too is their mouth is they literally have teeth. It's you can't. They're so hard to hook. So even if they took it, chances
hard to set.
Yeah. But the Skiff, the water whiz.
Yeah, that was a weird one. Tangent storytelling.
Outlier tangent.
The outlier tangent.
That's what we're gonna call every once in a while. I think we should have an episode where we just kind of talk about something that we did. Yeah. And we'll call it that.
Okay.
John coined it, the outlier tangent. But a little bit of a shorter episode today, but I don't want to beat a dead horse. And I think, we'll give you guys an update of how it works this summer. And,
it was a fun project, man.
It was. I had fun. It was awesome. Chris helped us a little bit too. And it was Winters are tough up here. It was kind of nice to get together on a Sunday, and we didn't kill ourselves with it. Sometimes we're like, well, the nice thing about with what we did with it is a lot of it was like small process, because you're like, well, we're gonna do this, and it's gonna smell terrible in here.
We did get high a couple times.
Yeah, the paint especially was bad.
Yeah. Proper ventilation, guys.
Yeah. Well, I remember when we got done, we were like, I think if we did another boat, we would probably start it in May. And do it where we could just wheel it outside and work where it's a little bit better for our health. We probably killed a couple brain cells.
No doubt.
Yeah.
And we did wear respirators and stuff like that too, but
yeah, no, it still didn't help out, but it was good. I had a good time doing it, and who knows? Maybe we'll build a power drifter next.
Yeah. Who knows? We need to document stuff better. Like
we do.
Like that could have been its own standalone YouTube thing.
It could have been, and I.
But the thing is, we're so let's do this. I mean, we don't have the forethought to.
My problem is I just get so involved with the process of thinking how I'm going to do it and execute it that then to slow down to set up and to video it, I don't want to do. But like if we had somebody, wink, wink, that ever wanted to document a project like that through video for us, like I would definitely be on board with that. Like if I didn't have to be in charge of it. Yeah. Wink, wink.
Yeah. All right. Good talk.
All right, guys. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.
Yeah.
Yeah. Take it easy.
See you guys.